Chad, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. OTAs officially beginning for you guys down at the bank yesterday. Kind of give us an overview, emotions for you arriving back for your second season here in Duval and how the rest of the guys were feeling.
Yeah, I think everyone coming back is super excited. Everyone was happy to see each other yesterday, all having laughs, and really it's just all that excitement, looking forward to this next year and kind of working this off season to improve on what we did this past year.
Brain fog last year, Chad, versus a much clearer picture of what you're going into? Is it? How would you describe it from last year to this year?
Yeah, so last year I came in a little bit later, just because I was being drafted at that time. But coming in this first day, I think everyone has this positive mindset, knowing that what we're kind of getting into, knowing the coaching staff that we have and the players that we have surrounding us. So, it's really just kind of building off of everything that we did last year. And so that's kind of the mindset that we have.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue, Chad. I wanted to ask you, during that situation where y'all had the 5-game losing streak, I want to know about the culture there. I mean, everything stayed kind of consistent, everybody stayed positive, everybody still stay on the train, or was it there mayhem and mischief going on in the locker room?
No, there was no mischief going on in the locker room. I think, everyone kind of stayed the course, and we were understanding that we weren't winning at the time, but, we didn't let that deter us from, the job at hand going into that next week. And so, I think it's very similar looking back at, the playoff game against the Chargers when we were down 27 and we went into the locker room at halftime. No one was freaking out. Everyone was kind of keeping that same mindset that, hey, let's just take it one play at a time. So I think it's similar to earlier in the season where we were just saying, let's take it one day at a time and prepare to win this week.
So, Chad, we're hearing all kind of stuff for the last few months of the offseason about maybe Trayvon Walker moving inside. Maybe you guys are going to do more even front this year. Have you been told anything, or what's your gut of what you guys will be? Will you still be multiple, or will it be more one than the other?
Yeah, I'm not too sure right now. We haven't really dove into that discussion quite yet.
Chad Muma joining us on the Fair and Fair phone line. Chad, as far as your off season, again, like you mentioned last year, it's such a whirlwind because you're in school, you play your bowl game, and then you got to get ready for the draft, and then you're drafted, and then you're moving to a new city, and there's so much going on. So how did you spend your first true off season in quite some time?
Oh man, it was nice because, like you said, you were constantly going at this time last year, and so having some time off to let the body heal up from the long season was very nice. Took a couple trips with, my family. Was able to go back home to Denver to see my family. So it was really just kind of spending time with friends and family. Letting the body heal up, and then kind of getting those light workouts back in as we came a little bit closer to this time right now.
We're talking with Chad Muma. He was one of your draft picks last year for your Jacksonville Jaguars. They did a little bit of a run on linebacker when you go back and think about it. And when you talk about Mike Caldwell in his first year, kind of like you, he was a newbie at his position. What do you think of the job that he did, and what do you think about the personality and presence of Mike Caldwell?
Yeah, I think a lot of guys on the team have this love for Mike Caldwell. I think he does a great job, every single day in that meeting room, bringing us together and, focusing us in on the job at hand. And, I think a lot of guys have respect towards him. And I think last year, there's definitely a learning curve for all the guys, including him, including me. But we were able to kind of dial that in closely. And, now looking at this offseason, looking at what we did this past year, we're going to kind of fine-tune the things that we really need to improve on.
Now, Chad, situationally, did you ever find yourself in a position where you were starstruck, where you were like, man, I used to watch this guy on TV and I'm going up against him? When I was playing, it was actually Lawrence Taylor, but I remember to myself, hey, you still got to block this guy. You can't be starstruck. Was there ever a situation last year you were like, wow, it's pretty cool I'm playing to get this guy, but I got to do something against him?
Yeah, I think, it was kind of early on. In the season, it was, our first is the Hall of Fame game going against the Raiders, going up against Josh Jacobs. That was kind of a starstruck moment where I'm like, man, I gotta go tackle this guy right here. And it was kind of my first experience, just kind of seeing that talent across the field and being like, man, I watched that guy for a few years now, and so I think that was kind of my moment. Was going up against him.
Chad, how do you guys get better defensively, more consistent on that side of the ball, specifically?
Yeah, specifically, it's kind of looking at, what we did this past year and the areas that we really need to improve on. And one of those areas is the third down completion and also the red zone touchdowns that teams were able to get on us. We were kind of on the lower half of the league in those categories, and so I think that this training camp, those are a couple areas that we really need to improve on.
One other thing, Chad, I'm curious, as you guys right now are obviously focused on OTAs in the building, the current Jaguars roster, but top 30 visits are going on, not just in Jacksonville, but across the league. You did have a top 30 visit in Jacksonville. Correct me if I'm wrong. Take our listeners kind of behind the scenes of what exactly happens on those visits and, how many you took and maybe where you were feeling this time last year.
Yeah, so exactly, you're right. This past the last year, I took 3 of those visits. I took one with the Broncos. I took one with Carolina. Then I also took one with Jacksonville. And kind of on those visits, you go through and you meet the entire staff, the personnel. You meet with the position coach, the head coach, your GM, strength staff, the trainers in the training room, even player personnel. Sometimes security. It's really just the whole staff that you're meeting with, talking with them, talking about your experiences in college, and kind of discussing, what your NFL journey would look like for yourself and kind of what you're kind of looking for. And it's really just having those discussions with all the different personnel with the team.
Chad, what was the dinner bill? Did you get him at dinner? That's the question.
Yeah. We went
okay,
to
that's
dinner.
all that matters.
Yep, went to dinner, got some nice steak over at the dinner. Put us in a nice little hotel right over there by the dinner. So it's a nice little setup.
No lobster, just the steak.
Just the steak. I just had a steak then.
It's because he's a Wyoming cowboy. He probably wasn't even into the seafood. All right, so go Wyoming to Wyoming. It was always the Jags. Did you pull Dewey to the side and you said, "Bro, how did you come up with this?" And it's taken off. And what was that like?
Yeah, Dewey's one of those guys that he has a million quotes, and it was always the Jags was kind of another one that kind of came up, and it just kind of rose as it had its presence on social media and kind of caught fire, and so it's kind of funny to see that kind of blow up like it did, and Dewey's proud to say that he's the one that kind of came up with that.
Wrapping it up now with Chad Muma. Chad, how do you guys deal with expectations? Clearly, what happened last year, the way the end of the season played out, the last 6-7 games and the playoff run. How do you deal now with those expectations? Because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be pointing to this franchise as like a sleeper Super Bowl pick.
Right. I mean, last year, Jacksonville was a team that not a lot of people looked at as a great team. In reality, we were a good team. And so after you kind of had that playoff run like we did this past year, upcoming this year, we're going to be on teams' radar. And they're going to know that, this isn't the same Jacksonville team that we've been facing in years past. And, they got to prepare a little bit harder for us. And I think that's going to kind of set that different expectation going into every week.
Good stuff, Chad. Looking forward to seeing you guys down at the bank during OTAs. And, of course, enjoy being back in Jacksonville.
Yeah, of course. No, I'm loving Jacksonville. Loving being back here with the heat getting up a little bit again, and excited to get back to work.
What has been your side joy outside of football in Duval? Just throw that out for the fans, just as far as what you have enjoyed about Duval.
Yeah, no, I love all the golfing around Jacksonville. There's lots of places that you can play year round, and then I've also enjoyed kind of going out to the beaches and hanging out there. Then also all the different food options we have in Jacksonville.
Yeah. All right, man. Enjoy it. Hopefully we'll see you as you go along in this offseason. We appreciate your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.